I find it really annoying when you write specifically to a person and you have their name and they have to sign for it. I know lackeys do get involved with mail because obviously they would probably get loads of mail. However, this was personal and addressed to the person and was a matter that they should be dealing with, not passing it on to a lackey. I've had a letter back via email. I sent my documents off a little while ago, and it's come back from somebody called Dobson, some lackey in the UKVI. Basically, UKVI are a criminal organisation. They commit fraud every day by stealing money from people that want to come and live here. They apply for a visa and they get refused for a variety of reasons made up, and the money that they make from that, I'm awaiting to see, because I've asked for a FOI from the Home Office. I've asked for a number of people that apply and a number of refusals, because I want to work out how much money they've made in the last year. And I know there will be a load of refusals, because I know several people that have been refused for reasons which are similar to mine. My wife's application was made in genuine good faith. However, the UKVI, the fraudulent government department, they treat you guilty until you're proven innocent. They claimed that they refused the visa because we had a refusal last time, which, if you go by that logic, we'll never get a visa. The other thing is, apparently, they banned her for 10 years from applying, yet nobody's had any documentation about this. So it's fraudulent. Basically, we paid good money twice, and I'm really annoyed about the second time, because if I'd known that there was a ban, I wouldn't not have bothered doing the application, because I knew that it would get refused. Now, in the first round, which was 5 years ago, apparently it was a 10-year ban, so we have another 5 years to go. So I'm not happy with that. I have consulted a lawyer who was, let me just put it this way, they were about as useful as a chocolate fire guard. Basically, I spent 165 quid for a meeting with a lawyer, and we're no further forward than we were before that. In actual fact, the service I've had has been appalling, because apparently 3 days later, after the meeting on Zoom, the admin guy phoned me up and said, are you happy? I said, not really. So I've got loads of other questions to ask, and the lawyer didn't really answer any of them. No worry, you could email. I said, well, you never told me that I could email. Yeah, you had 3 days. If you email today, I'll get her to answer the questions that you have on the 31st when she comes back from holiday. Ironically, let's hope it wasn't abroad, because I doubt whether she'll get back in the country. Anyway, so it's now 2 weeks on from then. No reply, no email, no message, no phone call. So I can pretty much put that behind me as a waste of money. The advice I got was pretty much rubbish. But what's really annoyed me about this whole thing is that she didn't even have the decency, the respect to look at it and go, oh, this is addressed to me personally, addressing me as a person. Maybe I should read it and put together a response. Yeah, all right. She's probably not going to write it herself, but she could dictate it, as they do. But this has just shown complete lack of respect for anybody. And her being a foreigner as well, I'm sure that her family are here. Her family can visit whenever they like. Her relatives can come here and probably live here. Yes, I am being very, very nasty about it, because this whole thing is corrupt. And that they've locked down the idea that you can appeal it. If you imagine it, in the last week we've been hearing about the Human Rights Act that they want to get rid of. Basically, the UKVI do the same thing. You have no right of appeal. You cannot argue with any decision that they make. There is no comeback. And certainly this letter is a standard letter telling me to sod off. Basically, I don't have permission from my wife to discuss her details because of a Data Protection Act, which, as far as I know, is related to the UK only, not Thailand. And I'm married to her, so I'm allowed to talk about her and her affairs, especially when you consider that she has very little English and would not understand what to do or what to say, and certainly wouldn't write to the Home Office in the UK. So basically it says, I am therefore unable to discuss with your wife or her immigration matters without her written consent. And of course you've got the other bullshit about, we understand that the decision to refuse is disappointing, blah blah blah. It says, we strongly recommend that you speak to an independent immigration advisor. And then they give a load of paragraph about how to contact them. And that's it. So the letter is signed by a Dobson, whoever they are, probably some lackey in the UKVI, the corrupt, fraudulent department in the Home Office that are essentially ripping off people, genuine people that have the enthusiasm to apply and are being refused. And if you go onto the forums on Facebook, there are lots of forums dealing with immigration applications, and I'm on several of them, and they all detail how they've been refused for petty reasons. There is also a story in the news which is about the Home Office and Patel charging the full whack for children of immigrants. So if you want to bring your children in, they are charging over £1,000 each to have it on the application for your visa. And that is above and beyond the fee, which currently is £1,500. And then of course you've got the NHS fees at nearly £2,000. So you're talking about nearly £4,000 just for you, and then £1,000 each for each child that you have. If it was my child, then it would come in free because it would be considered to be UK English. However, I don't have any children to bring into the country, and of course my name is not Madonna. There you go. So basically the fraudulent Home Office are stealing money. They have no respect. She can't even be bothered to respond to a personal letter. I have another letter in the Home Office which is identical. However, at the bottom of it, I have requested FOI. I want to know how many applications were made for a visit visa for a year from Thailand. I want to know how many of those were refused, and I want to know the total number of applications, so number of people wanting to live here, because there will be, and there will also be lots of people who want to come and stay here.
Nearly 6 million people in England and Wales could become eligible to be stripped of their British citizenship without warning under new plans proposed by the government. The new rules would apply disproportionately to people from non-white ethnic minorities. We looked at census data to see how many people this bill could apply to, and we found that 2 in every 5 people from an ethnic minority could be eligible to be deprived of their British citizenship, compared to just 1 in 20 people from a white background.
This is something that's really disturbing because we've seen the Home Office say that citizenship is a privilege and not a right. But what they're really saying is that for a lot of white people, citizenship remains a right. But for a lot of black and brown British people, it's something that's becoming more precarious by the day.
People with ethnic minority heritage become effectively sort of second-class citizens.
Anyone with dual citizenship can already have their citizenship revoked if the Home Secretary believes that it is in the public interest to do so. That includes anyone born to Bangladeshi, German, French, Italian parents, even if they've never acquired a second passport. The government can also remove the citizenship of people without dual nationality, so long as they were born outside the UK and their behaviour is considered seriously prejudicial to vital British interests. The proposed Nationality and Borders Bill would extend these powers even further. Clause 9 of the draft bill states that the government doesn't need to notify those deprived of their citizenship if it does not have their contact details or if it is for any other reason not reasonably practicable to do so. It also states that notice should not be given if it is in the public interest not to do so.
It more or less gets rid of any of the checks and balances that we have in this process, which means that you can lose all of your rights as a British citizen based on the Home Secretary, one person, saying that should happen, and you might lose any chance of getting a court or someone else to look at it because it would all happen in secret.
The big question, which isn't really answered by the legislation as it's drafted, is what happens when you do know about it? Will you then be entitled to appeal? How will you be able to appeal? What will the process be?
I approached the Home Office for a response, and they insist that those deprived of citizenship still possess the right to appeal. My analysis of data from the 2011 census found 5.6 million people in England and Wales that are likely to be eligible for deprivation of citizenship, either because they were born abroad and are likely to be eligible for another citizenship, or because they're already dual nationals. That includes an estimated 408,000 people born in the UK. Eligibility often depends not just on where you were born, but on who your parents were. The main estimate assumes that if you were born in, say, India, you probably had at least one parent who was an Indian citizen at the time of your birth. If we loosen that to assume that both parents were citizens of the birth country, that adds another 390,000 people. Between 2006 and 2017, 199 people were stripped of their citizenship, with 104 cases in 2017 alone.
The government has had these powers, it says, for 100 years. It's almost never used them before the last few years. They were very rarely used. European governments more or less, I think, refused to use citizenship stripping powers after they saw the extent to which the Nazis used them. And really, for a long time, they were used in a few cases, for example, with Russian spies who were discovered and had their citizenship stripped. And recently, we have seen a huge uptick from maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people being stripped of citizenship in a year under Theresa May as Home Secretary. Between 2016 to 2017, it went from 14 people being stripped in 2016 to 104 in 2017.
In 2019, former Islamic State supporter Shamima Begum, who was born in London as a British citizen, was stripped of her UK citizenship.
Please find enclosed papers that relate to a decision taken by the Home Secretary to deprive your daughter Shamima Begum of her British citizenship. In light of the circumstances of your daughter, the notice of the Home Secretary's decision has been served on file today, 19th February, and the order removing her citizenship has subsequently been made.
She didn't have a foreign passport, but the government argued that she was technically a Bangladeshi citizen, and therefore the law allowed for her citizenship to be removed.
These decisions are made very carefully. Where citizenship deprivation is being considered due to national security concerns, decisions are based on advice and intelligence from the security services, from counter-terrorism police, and specialist security and legal officials in the Home Office. When people dedicated to keeping our country safe give an informed recommendation, any Home Secretary should listen very carefully.
In February 2021, the Supreme Court ruled in favour of the Home Office's decision to bar Begum from returning to the UK to appeal her loss of citizenship. The single largest group of people eligible for deprivation of citizenship are those born in India. Around 431,000 residents of England and Wales were born in India at a time when the country offered citizenship to anyone born there. A further 204,000 are likely to be eligible if they were born with at least one parent who was an Indian citizen at the time of their birth. Pakistani-born British people are also particularly exposed because the country offers citizenship to anyone born there after 1951. More than 417,000 residents of England and Wales are likely to meet this criterion, with another 65,000 likely to be eligible if they were born to at least one Pakistani parent.
The great philosopher and thinker Hannah Arendt said citizenship is the right to have rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 sets out all the rights to which we are all entitled by virtue of being human. As a matter of practice, you need a nationality in order to get access to these rights.
The Home Office says that deprivation of citizenship is only used as a last resort against those that pose a serious threat to national security, such as foreign fighters returning from Syria. However, human rights organisation Reprieve has warned that the bill could lead to trafficking victims being stripped of support. Reprieve estimates that 63% of British women currently detained in northeastern Syria are victims of trafficking.
Priti Patel has zero respect for anybody, and certainly she's pushing this corrupt system of applying for a visa. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Have a good day. Bye for now.